Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some money saving tips and tips to save your sanity when you take a trip to Disney. Recommend is buying a portable phone charger, and you can buy these or even rent them throughout the park, but of course they're going to be much more expensive. So purchasing your own before you go, I highly recommend, because the whole Disney experience relies so much on using the My Disney Experience app, including ordering your food, making reservations, figuring out the wait time for different rides and shows. And so you use your phone so much, so it's gonna use up the battery. So being able to have a phone charger with you, I highly recommend. It's highly worth it. I will put a link to the one that we used down below. This one was excellent. It did not overheat or warm up. It kept our phone charged throughout the day. And with this one, it was recommended to buy a USB-C cord in addition to, because it will charge this much faster, because otherwise I think it takes 10 and a half hours to fully charge itself before you can use it and take it with you throughout the day. And the great thing is that we were able to just stick it in our backpack on the side and then plug it in to our phone and keep our phone with us. So we could use it on the go throughout the day. It was very handy. If you had pockets that were big enough, you could put it in your pocket as well. And then other things I would recommend is skipping the park hopper, especially if you have a family, especially with little kids. It's just one park alone is so much for a family, especially with little legs, to do in a day. And so yes, it would be nice and convenient to be able to go to multiple parks in a day, but you really, I think, could save a couple $100 or so to not buy the park hopper. And that is something that was recently added. For a while with COVID, you weren't even able to do the park hopper, but they recently added that. At 2 o'clock, you can switch parks if you want, but I think it's an easy idea for a family on a budget to not add that part. And then the other one of the tips for planning your day is for your sanity, saving your sanity, is just kind of knowing some of the popular rides before you go, or when some of the rides are busier. Maybe some of the rides have busy lines all day long, or other rides that are busier in the morning and then the line kind of dwindles throughout the day. That's really helpful when planning your day, to kind of know when you get to a park which rides you want to get to first, and then save other rides for later, so that you're not spending your entire day waiting in lines, but you just kind of have your day planned out a little bit better to avoid those lines. And I did a lot of research through the DFB Disney Food blog with AJ, and she has her own YouTube channel, as well as allears.net with Molly. And just by watching those two channels alone really prepared me to where I felt really prepared, and our days went pretty well as we navigated our way through each of the 4 parks. Now, it's never going to be perfect, so you just got to be prepared for that. But those were certainly good helpers in getting ready to go to Disney, and just kind of planning your day out with each of the 4 parks. And of course, remembering that you have to make a reservation with each of the 4 parks. Even if you have a ticket, you have to reserve which day you're going to go to which park as far and in advance as you can, because they are not at full capacity right now, so they are limiting how many people can be in each park. So you want to be sure and do that before you go on your trip, so that you are prepared and have that reserved spot. And then a big money saver for us in general was not purchasing all of our food at the park. And it might seem a little bit more challenging because we flew and we live farther away from Disney, and so it doesn't seem as practical. However, we were able to order with Amazon Fresh, and we are Amazon Prime members. And if you can order through Amazon Fresh, have it delivered to your hotel in Disney for free as long as you order $50 worth. And so actually I was able to order the day before we left for Disney, and it arrived within an hour. I had it arrive within an hour or two that we got there. Now, it was delivered to like the front desk area, which was a little bit of a walk to get to, and they would deliver it to your door for $6, but we simply walked down to the front desk and got it ourselves. And also with that, being that I ordered enough to feed our family for the week, we needed a little bit more refrigerator space, and so our hotel was able to accommodate that. And so I just called them and requested an extra refrigerator, and they brought one up, so we had plenty of room to keep the stuff cold for the week. I'll have a whole nother video on kind of our meal ideas for the week, but we basically did bars and fruit and nuts for breakfast. We kind of wanted something on the go so we could get out the door and get to the parks to kind of beat the rush. And then for lunch, we used the Amazon Fresh stuff that I bought, and then we used a quick service meal for dinner. Now, this is for a family on a budget. We never did one of the sit-down meals. It's going to be more expensive. And I will say the quick service meals are they're somewhat reasonable. Even when we were in the airport on the way back, and we actually ended up in the airport longer than we planned and had to purchase a meal, the airport was more expensive than a quick service meal at Disney. So that's kind of how we were able to make it on a lower budget, is that we just did one meal a day as a family, and we were satisfied and full with what I had bought, and then one quick service meal. One of my other recommendations with being on a budget is that go for the quick service meals, but if you can, avoid the snacks, because those seem to be the biggest expenses, if you will. They're indulgent, they're fun, they're pretty, and all that. Have some, but there's kind of a limit maybe for that as well. For example, my kids got to choose some of their snacks or specialty treats or what have you. Mickey Mouse ice cream sandwich, $6. So really hard to just always having that budget mindset to think of $6 for one ice cream sandwich. It was very delicious. They really enjoyed it. But yeah, an average kids meal is $6.50 in Disney for a quick service meal. An average adult's meal for quick service, I would say $12 to $16. And I really appreciated the kids meal. They usually came with a drink. It could be milk or juice, and then usually two sides like applesauce squeeze or the Dannon smoothie drinks, apple slices, or a little cutie orange or green beans. I think those were kind of the basic options each of the different places that we went to. And so really reasonable for $6.50. I mean, it's more than you would typically spend for a kid's meal, but considering it was Disney, it really wasn't too bad, considering that we just did that one meal a day for our family. And so I would highly recommend maybe trying to steer away from the snacks if you're on a budget. But of course, it's Disney, and you probably are not there, very often. So it's fun to be able to get those now and again, which is what our family did. But depending on what your budget is and allows, that's kind of things to keep in mind in budgets as you get ready to go or plan to go in the future. Another thing to save on your sanity is to make a plan before you go on your trip for your children's meltdowns or even fighting with each other and things like that. Now, come on. Disney, there's a sign as you drive in, it's the most magical place on earth. Why in the world would they ever fight? However, it's not, no place is perfect here on earth, right? So kids still fight, they have meltdowns and things like that. They're off schedule, they're not getting as much sleep as they usually do, they're not eating like they usually do. So there is that. So come prepared, like with boundaries and things before you go, so that you are prepared when you're there to implement those. And some examples that we used were, like, if you're standing in line and they're starting to misbehave or fight with one another, just saying if it continues, then you won't get to ride this ride. And it doesn't take many of those warnings before it kind of gets their attention. Like, I don't like that, I want to ride this ride. And so steering them in the right direction in that way. Or even, like, you get to choose a fun treat for the day if you're making good choices throughout the day. I really want my Mickey Mouse, $6 Mickey Mouse ice cream sandwich, so I'm gonna make better choices. So that's just another thing to save your sanity. Be prepared for kids' meltdowns and they're tired and things like that, but also just come with a plan so that you can be more prepared for those and dealing with those, even on vacation, even on the most magical place on earth. And then another thing in general is, if you're flying, to check in as minimal bags as possible. Everyone is allowed a carry-on plus a personal item. And so we did that for each of the 4 of us. And then if you have an infant 2 and under, they can have, we had a stroller that would be checked on for free. And then we also had, they can have a diaper bag and 1 personal item. So I ended up bringing a diaper bag for my daughter. And, but just be prepared to move throughout the airport with all of your luggage. We did check in 1 bag as a family, so the first bag is $30. But then otherwise we just carried everything with us, which is great to save money, but at the same time, be prepared to carry all of your stuff. And then another thing to maybe save your sanity is to think about, I was going to have my kids carry their own backpack at a day in the park at Disney, which kind of worked in the morning, but as they got more tired, they weren't really wanting to carry something extra in addition to themselves. And so it was just not as practical or reasonable. And I think for little kids, it's enough for them to just carry themselves by the end of the day. There's so much walking and so much to see and so much to do. So we ended up just keeping that extra backpack on our stroller, which was nice to have a stroller. Another thing that I would recommend is, if you can, have one of the more smaller compact strollers. They're just easier to navigate through the park and all the people and standing in lines and turning and things like that. Some people did have bigger strollers, which is fine. It's just a little bit more to get around and to get places, including on and off the airplane. So I would highly recommend a more compact stroller if that works for your family. A magic band, we think, is definitely worth it to have. It's just very convenient to keep it on your wrist. And then it is your ticket to get in the mornings into each of the parks. It is, and to also, before you go, link it to your debit card or whatever you're going to be using. Then you can be buying your meals, ordering your meals, and paying with that instead of pulling out your card or cash every time. And but yeah, being sure to link it with your debit card or whatever card you're using before you go, so that's all set up. And then it's also your key to get into your hotel room if you're staying at a Disney hotel. And so we got the lowest price band. I think they range from like $5 to maybe $25 or more. And we stuck with the $5 per person per band. And if you go back again, you can reuse the same band. And then we also would recommend, there's pros and cons to staying on a Disney resort. We chose to stay on one. This was a trip that we were blessed with. So we had that as one of our options. And there are kind of 3 tiers of the Disney resorts as far as expense level. And we stayed at the lowest tier, and we were perfectly satisfied. It was clean and it was beautiful, and it was... also it saved us money, and here's how. We got to the airport and we were able to use the Disney Magical Express shuttle from the airport to the hotel or resort. And we didn't have to pay for that, which I believe after this year you are going to have to pay for that. I'm not sure exactly how much. But then also each day from the resort to the parks, there was free transportation back and forth. And we really didn't have to wait in line too much, even considering COVID. And that they had to space people out in the buses more. We really didn't have to wait ever, maybe more than 30 minutes or less each time. So it was totally worth it for us to save that we didn't have to pay to rent a car, and to use that free transportation and to stay in the Disney Resort hotel. We really enjoyed it, and I felt like the rooms were a little bit smaller than an average room, but it was really well thought out and planned out. There was like shelving above the refrigerator, so there was room for me to like store my food. They did have one of the double beds was pulled, it could be pulled up during the day, and you could have a table there with chairs, which is nice. However, we, for functional and practical reasons, just kept both down because we needed both. But that really made the rooms feel a bit smaller, but you're really not in the rooms that much during the day anyway because you're spending so much time at the park or even swimming in the pool. So it was manageable for a week. But another thing that I would recommend to bring with you on your trip for your Sanity, or at least for mine, is to bring like cleaning wipes. I love to bring those when we travel in our hotel room just to wipe things down. There are baby care centers in each of the 4 parks, and they're great for changing diapers, nursing, and even little lounge areas to allow your super little ones to crawl around and things. Being that they're in the stroller all day long, they also have supplies that you can purchase if you need to. So those are excellent things to utilize in each of the parks. Something else that is awesome to save money is that anyone can order kids' meals at Disney. I ended up doing that a time or two, and it was filling enough with all the other food I had, and it was like $7.50 compared to $12 to $16, and may not be suited for everyone, but just know that that's an option, and maybe a way of saving money is that anyone can order kids' meals at any time. To save your sanity is that each park has a baby care center, and it's usually right beside a first aid center. And I'll stick a few of those pictures in for you so that you know what they look like. Now, these care centers are very helpful and useful. A great place to go to change your baby's diaper. I noticed not all of the restrooms had baby changing tables. So it was really nice to know a place that you could go to change their diaper, a place that you could go to nurse. Or another thing that we found really helpful was sometimes your little ones get tired of being in the stroller all day long or being held all day long. So these centers are great to go to for them to just crawl around a little bit and get some of their energy out and walk and things like that. And now, the one thing about them is there's one in each park. So you really got to kind of plan when you're going to be near one or willing to walk to one, because there's not one around every corner. But it's very nice that there is one in each park to be able to use. And then another thing that is really helpful is to know before you go, to have a budget, to have a plan, because Disney is really good at putting things like right before you to buy this, or you need this, or you see everyone else has this, this, and this. Why not buy one yourself? So just kind of having a plan before you go. And one of the things that my daughter did was she had chosen a couple of dolls that she wanted. And these dolls, almost exactly the same, were $26 for one in the store. We found them on Amazon again, almost exactly the same as in the Disney store. 2 of the dolls for $36. So she was willing to wait and saved herself some money. So that was another awesome thing.
The reason how I got him is because I saved money, and still I've been begging to buy stuff, but Mama wouldn't let me. Then I just realized I could save money for Disney.
You decided to save your money, and then when we got to Disney, you had money to spend, huh?
Yeah.
It was fun. So you got your special Disney souvenirs, and for a lesser cost, you were able to get a little bit more for less money, huh? Because you were willing to wait. And then it was kind of something to look forward to when we got home from Disney, is that we would have something on our porch waiting for us, huh? So that's all for this week. We hope to see you next week for more money saving tips and tricks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.